Hello there, folks. Hey, this quick video today is going to talk about a quick way to make a batch example of a data logger here. So in this case, I've got, if we go to the Crimson program, that's what I'm running here, and I've got set up a number of tags in here, and I'm going to do a batch log in this example. So I'm going to go here to DataLogger, and the first thing I'll do is up here on DataLogger, I'm going to enable batch logging here. I'm going to turn on here, say yes to this. And I've adjusted up to 200 batches. I think that's the max you can put in. I'm just throwing that in there for this. And then I've got a bunch of other data loggers on here that are set up as continuous sample. A bunch of other things happening here. But if I get down to log number 6, I got it set up as a triggered snapshot here. I'm taking reading once a second. 60 samples in each file at 1 second intervals. And then I'm using this trigger me down here to trigger when it's going to take a log. And of course, under the contents tab, here's the tags that are in that data logger here. If I go back to setup, you can see log 7 is a continuous log here with a tag called continuous enable here, continuous log enable. But if we focus on log number 6, this one here, that can either be manually triggered or I've also set up a tag. If I go to data tags, notice I have a tag here called auto trigger, and it's a simple formula tag. It's just dispCount.0, so I'm looking at bit 0 of the dispCount feature that just counts up the number of times the display page is updated. If I put a .0, that'll focus on bit 0. The display page normally updates 10 times a second, so every 100 milliseconds this should change. If I go to the triggers tab, I want you to see something I'm doing interesting here. I've got auto on, so when that triggers to an on, I'm running some complex code here. Well, let me show you the complex code. In here, I'm asking a question. Move this over here. I have another tag called auto trigger. If that equals 1, then I'm going to set the trigger me to 1. And then if I go down here to auto active off, hit the button here, you can see that if that auto trigger is running, I'm going to reset the trigger to 0 here. Because the reason I'm doing that is because over here in the data logger, this log trigger has to transition from a 0 to 1 to instigate a trigger action. So that's what's happening there. I want you to keep in mind that the update rate here is set to once a second, but when I put this in an auto mode, I'm going to show you that I'm going to get about 4 or 5 readings per second on here. So, all right, so the trigger me there will trigger that, and so let's go ahead and see how this works. Oh, also, since I'm doing this batch logging, I have a name, just a string tag called batch name, and I'm going to enter a name in here, and that's going to create on my memory card a directory for that name, and that's where it's going to put, I hope, these files. Now, I also have another tag here called current batch, and by the way, team, over here in the lower right-hand corner in system, if I expand the functions tree, and to go down to my, where was it, logging here, mouse, and this get batch will return the current name of the batch as long as it's in process. So that is what's going to happen. And if I go here to display pages, this is my page. This start new batch button, I'll right click and show you what's happening here. And this button just has the tag start new batch there, but if I go to the action tab, I'm using the function new batch, which is over here, new batch right here, this function here, and then I'm taking my tag name batch name that I'm putting in here, so that's what it puts on the SD card. And then when I'm done running my batch, I'm going to press this end batch button, and the end batch button is going to basically trigger the end batch function. That's all it's going to do. All right. I did a couple other things here. Is the current batch will show the name here, and then I made this border here. Let's see if I can show it here. If I double click on the border, go to the show tab, anytime that the current batch is blank, it won't show up, but if it is not that will show up, indicating that the batch logger is running. So let's go ahead and see how this works, team. And I'll go here, and there's running. And then I also have another web page looking at the same thing, but looking at the batches. So right now you can see there's no batches here. If I hit refresh, oh, I have a batch. Oh, I must be playing with something here. Well, let me end this batch that's currently running here. Okay, so We'll go back to here. Should show the listing names. There they are. All right, so let's say right now it's 1359 here. So if I go in and put in my batch, we'll call this one 1400. There we go. Okay. And I'll start this one. I'll wait till this gets right about 1400. I'll push this button. And I'll push it right now. Here we go. Boom. So it's got a batch now. It started at 1400. And I can either manually put in entries by triggering this here. And this will manually put in entries into that batch. So I just click it a few times and we'll see batches here. We'll see entries into this file. You'll see here in a little bit. And then if I turn this auto trigger on off, we'll start to see this really flicker. And now it's going to write a whole bunch of files to this at the same time here. So it's going to go ahead and write that into that particular file there. So I'm going to let this run for a little bit, and then I will start this back up. So I'm going to let it run for a few minutes, and then I'll start the video back up so you can see what happens. Okay, so we've let this thing run for a couple minutes here, team. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my auto trigger by clicking there. That turns it off. And then if I just manually click a few, it'll show up here. I'm going to let this thing go over to the 1405. And now I'm in the 1405, so if I just do some manual triggers here and by doing this, I'm going to see what might happen in our batches here. So we only have one batch, my 1400, so I'm going to click this button, End Batch, boom. That took away here, means I'm not really logging anymore at this time. So now if I go over here, go down to Batches, look, we have a directory here called My 1400, that's what I was just doing. So if I click in this, log 6 is the triggered one, log 7 is the continuous, we didn't do anything with that, but log 6, if I go into here, look at here, there's a number of files, those minutes that we were paused the video there, so we did sit there and wait, but this is the first one that I started with right here. Now if I click on it here, you can see it comes in as a convoluted table. So let me go here and I'll right click, I'll save this to my desktop, and of course it's a .csv file, so I'll do CSV, and I need to change the suffix here, so I'll make this to all files. Oops, this new mouse of mine is still, I bought a new mouse by the way. Alright, not yet, but it's coming. Alright, so we'll go ahead and save it. Now we'll open this one up, let's take a look at what it looks like here. So as we look in here, the first few were me triggering manually here, and then after some period of time, I went ahead and turned on the auto trigger, and you could start to see something interesting. About every, well, the second here, but about every 5 readings, it's reading 5 times a second here in each particular location. So that's pretty cool. I've taken that, what would be only 60 samples, being once a second reading, and now I'm actually increased it quite a bit. So if I go look at another one, let's go look at, say, one of these other ones that are quite a bit bigger in size. This one here, for instance. Let's go ahead and save this one. So again, CSV, change the type here. There we go. Go ahead and save it. And then open this guy. And this one, I mean, this is pretty cool if you ask me, team. If you look at this whole file, there are in here, how many total readings are there? 286 readings in this one. There's manually changing there at the end, but you can see that I got a number of readings every second. So in essence, I've changed this from a once a second reading to basically it's taking 5 readings every second now based on this triggered idea. And which makes sense if you think about it, that the screen, the disk count changes 10 times a second. I'm triggering on and off basically every 10 times a second. Would divide by 5, or divide by 2. There's 5 readings a second then in that case, and that's why this guy oscillates like that. So that's how that my batch logger works, and that's kind of my cheat, my quick cheat in how to get multiple readings in a 1 second reading that you normally couldn't do at once a second. Again, back at the DataLogger, if you look at log 6, it's a once a second reading, 60 samples, but clearly based on the triggering here, I'm really getting 5 readings every second in this case. And the file then spans 60 seconds at this interval, but I'm putting in 5 readings a second based on that batch reading. So pretty cool way to kind of get more readings out of your data logger. So, hey, just thought I'd share that quick cheat with you. Thanks a lot. Have a great day, folks.